So we've had a very chill day today. We played train dominoes. We're probably still going to do that after dinner. We went to mass. I got Starbucks. I've had a lot of coffee today. And we FaceTimed family. But I was just sitting here reflecting on the new year. And I was like, well, usually I have like all these resolutions and insights and I have all this stuff to say. And then I remembered last year was the same way, where I thought, well, usually I have all these resolutions and expectations, but I'm not doing that this year. And I would just like to say that the decision for me to do that in 2020 was probably the biggest reason why I got through 2020 at all, with my mental health still relatively intact. I mean,
your girl's still messed up in the head. Your girl still needs a lot of therapy.
But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this year. I looked back at an Instagram post I made last New Year's Eve, and I just talked about how expectations are so harmful for me, and honestly for everyone, because if expectations don't get met, then we get so disappointed, and it's like we put so much of our energy and our hopes on these expectations, and we can't tell the future. We never know if they're going to come true. So they're honestly really harmful. They do a lot more harm than good. Bryce Ann has been studying philosophy and theology at school. And first of all, so proud. She used to hate school, and now that's like all she does. And she's so dedicated to her work. She loves it so much. I'm so proud of her. But she was talking about how expectations are sinful for all these reasons that I can't explain because I haven't read the theology behind it. But at the end of the day, to expect is to feel entitled to something. And we're not entitled to anything in this world. A lot of the time we don't get anything that we want. There's a lot more to it than that. You'd have to ask Bryce Ann. At the end of the day, expectations do a lot more harm than good. But the fact that in 2020 I made that realization and I said, I'm going to stop expecting things. I'm just going to take this year for what it is.
Of course, I was still disappointed by a lot that happened.
This whole pandemic has been really hard. I've had a lot of time to think. And when I have a lot of time to think, I tend to go down a path of
sadness?
Not necessarily happiness. I tend to go towards being bitter instead of being grateful. But at the end of the day,
I don't know.
it was just a good year to practice that. I started that because of Mason. Mason's the one who taught me that.
In case you all don't know, Mason is my boyfriend.
When we first started talking, everything kind of happened really quickly. In the beginning of our relationship, I kind of didn't have any time. I didn't really know him, and then all of a sudden we were hanging out, and all of a sudden I really liked him, and we were talking all the time, and like all the falling for each other and starting to like each other and beginning our relationship happened within like a 5-day period. It was also finals week, so I had no time to sit there and dream up these expectations of what's going to happen and what's he going to be like and, oh, well, maybe this will happen. You know, I had no time to daydream. Everything turned out so good, and it was perfect because it was exactly what it was supposed to be. I didn't have time to dream up the perfect scenario and get let down. Like, everything happened exactly how it's supposed to be, which is perfect. But ever since that week, I've been like, you know what? That happened all without these expectations, and it was so good, and I wonder what the rest of my life will look like if I don't have these expectations. So Mason's kind of the one who taught me that. So going into 2020, I was like, I'm not going to have any expectations, and that's my New Year's resolution, is to not put any restraints on myself, to not like hope and pray and daydream about this perfect thing. It was just, I'm going to take this in stride. I'm going to take it every day, see what every day brings. I'm going to make the most of it. While 2020 was definitely not the best year of my life, I learned so much. There was so much good in this year. Even in quarantine, even in the middle of this big pandemic, there was so much good, and there were so many little things, like getting to have lunch with my dad every day and talk about all sorts of things, talk about business and talk about psychology and philosophy and theology and politics and all this stuff. You know, those little things of getting a package in the mail or helping my mom make dinner and getting to talk to Mason on the phone, getting to call Bryce Ann almost every day, going to work and giving people their groceries and helping people in a time where they're really scared to go into a store. And there were all sorts of little things in my life made it worth living this year. And I think that's there every year, but I just hadn't opened myself up to look for it. And I hadn't let go of all of my expectations. I didn't expect it to be perfect. I didn't expect it to be anything. And even though it was hard, definitely could have gone better. You know, a worldwide pandemic have definitely put a damper on this year. I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't let down. And opening myself up to the possibility of anything. Let God work in my life in a way that I'd never experienced before. And it let Him show me the goodness in these little tiny things that make life worth it. These little tiny blessings that He gives me every day. I want to bring that with me into 2021, since, I don't know, I'm not a master at letting go of expectations. But since that was my resolution last year, I am adding some more. Obviously, I have to always keep pushing myself, always keep growing, like my little tattoo says. I mean, it doesn't say that, but that's what it means. I just wrote in my journal, I don't really feel like putting restraints on 2021. I know I want to grow in my faith, and I want to journal more. Those are my goals for the year. As I want to grow my faith, I want to pray more, I want to visit the chapel on campus. I want to journal at least once a week. Those are my plans for this year. This clip itself is already 10 minutes, which is normally the length of my vlog. So I think we're done here. Those are my thoughts on 2020. Those are my thoughts on the new year. Those are my thoughts on life in general. And peace out.